All right, let's talk about the Las Vegas Raiders here for a little bit. Look, on this channel, for those of you who are not aware, are not regular viewers, we always like to talk about smart moves in terms of strategic decisions by a team's leadership, but put the team in a position to be successful for the long term. And look, I know Raiders fans, you guys are like, hey, haven't had a whole lot of that over the past decade or so. But here's an example in this kind of new-ish regime in Las Vegas of making a really savvy, smart move that I think shows that the Raiders are going to eventually, potentially sooner, potentially later, whenever it comes, they're going to be back as a top flight contender.
Yeah, Nick, I think from what we hear from Raiders fans, they don't quite give this regime enough credit for making somewhat competent moves. We don't have to say we're not saying they're world beaters, but they've been making some competent moves. And I think this story that you dug up just shows how competent and how confident they are in this team going forward. So I think Raiders fans will love this one. But speaking of the team and going forward, Raiders fans, we've seen OTAs, we've seen training camps, we are into the preseason, just one short preseason week left. Let us know who has been your preseason MVP so far. There's a lot of great play out there. Love how Aiden O'Connell looks. A lot of great players on that field. So let us know who is your preseason MVP so far in the comment section below. But Nick, what is this mystery competent move that the Raiders have made?
Well, I don't think it's so much of a mystery. It's been one of the headlines this entire offseason, right? We're talking about, of course, the ongoing situation with running back Josh Jacobs. And we got a great new report out of The Athletic giving us the latest. And I'll kind of explain what it means and why I think it's a really smart move by the Raiders and Ziegler and company. Miles, if you want to throw up the report again from The Athletic, I will read from it. All right, with training camp drawing to a close, the Las Vegas Raiders still haven't seen any sign of Josh Jacobs. The all-pro running back who has refused to sign the franchise tag hasn't suited up since last season and remains away from the team in a show of dissatisfaction with his inability to come to terms on a long-term extension. The Raiders have refused, I think it's really important here, refused to make Jacobs available in trade conversations. They're not going to trade him regardless, not going to do it. League sources told The Athletic. The team also has no plan to rescind his franchise tag and is yet to make an increased one-year offer similar to the one running back Saquon Barkley reportedly received from the New York Giants. That seems to have little recourse for Jacobs other than to play for the Raiders this season, but it's unclear when or if that'll happen. All right, there's a couple things to unpack there about why I think Ziegler, the GM and company are doing this is really smart. Everything they're doing in the situation. So first of all, not giving him a long-term deal, a mega deal. And look, I think Josh Jacobs is a great player, had an incredible season last year. His run to beat the Seahawks was absolutely awesome. Watched it live. It was an incredible moment. But the reality is you want long-term success in the NFL. You don't pay running backs big deals. You don't. Do you really want to be the Dallas Cowboys in terms of roster management? I mean, they gave Ezekiel Elliott all that money. What happened a few years later? He's gone. They sucked up so much cap. The Cowboys disappointing the last half decade or so. Do you want to be the Carolina Panthers? They play Christian McCaffrey a lot of money. How'd that work out for them? I think they've been a really bad team the last half decade or so as well. I mean, every bad move a team can make seems to revolve around paying the running back, big dollars. So number one, not doing that. Very smart, not giving to that temptation. Number two, not acknowledging any trade talks. I think that's a new development here that really snuck out at me. Because let's be honest, there is literally zero market for running backs, like I alluded to, especially a guy on a one-year deal. The most you're going to get from is like a fourth or fifth round pick. Why would you just take that? There's really no value in there. Force him to play for you this season. Eventually he will, because everyone knows the Le'Veon Bell situation. He sat out a year. His career completely tanked. Jacobs knows that's right around the corner. He's not going to sit out the whole season. He will come back week one or at least very early in the regular season. That's my opinion, because he wants to get paid. He doesn't want to see his career end. The Raiders know that too. They are taking the smart, business-centric. It's kind of brutal, right? They say, hey, Josh Jacobs, he wants all these different things. We're not going to give him anything because we have all the leverage. It's a brutal business decision by Ziegler and company running the Raiders, but it's the smart one. It's the savvy one. And I think this is a great sign that the Raiders on the field product in terms of roster management paired with it is heading in the right trajectory. But Miles, I know I just said a mouthful there. Let me throw it over to you. What are your thoughts on everything with the Raiders, Josh Jacobs, and just this football team going on right now?
Yeah, Nick, first I want to touch on what you brought up first, the contract situation and why you don't want to pay a guy like Josh Jacobs. Because let's think about it. Best case scenario, you have the next Derrick Henry, you have the next Nick Chubb, which sounds great in theory, but what have those teams gotten out of those guys? Nothing. They haven't made deep playoff pushes. They haven't been contenders so far. So paying the running back position doesn't seem like it's paying off there. Derrick Henry gets what, 16.4 million this year. Nick Chubb's getting 14.9 million. It just isn't the right move to pay this guy. especially when you got young Zamir White on the roster. He is not proven, but there's a lot of potential. I think Ziegler goes on in the same article to talk about how much White has improved, how much they're looking forward to him. He has improved tremendously in the passing department, whether it was pass protection. They're saying he's looking really, really good. His route running is great. His hands are looking great. So this guy's a little bit more of a dual threat out of the backfield. And it's like this year, every year. You get a new guy, joins a team. Look at the Seahawks. They have like 5 running backs that could potentially be, great. Zach Charbonnet, they had Kenneth Walker. They had Procise before that. They had Penny before that. There's like guys that come into the league every single year who's the next big thing at running back. And while Josh Jacobs is really, really great, we have to be quite curt with ourselves. Paying a running back isn't going to win you a Super Bowl, and that's the goal in today's Super Bowl era of football.
Yeah, Miles. And look, you hit on something really important there. Now and again, draw this distinction. Look at the teams that pay the running back. You look at the Cleveland Browns. You look at the Carolina Panthers. Do you want to be the Cleveland Browns Raiders fans? I sure don't want to be. Do you want to be the Dallas Cowboys, disappointing every single year? You want to be the Carolina Panthers, losing 11, 12, 13 games every single year? You don't want to be those teams. You want to be a contender. You want to be like the Chiefs, who are every year starting like an undrafted free agent, or the Eagles, or the Buffalo Bills, right? A lot of these teams don't have top flight, super expensive running backs, and they contend because of it. It's just smart roster management. And you hit on a couple really other good points there in terms of what this team already has on the roster in terms of Zamir White, a guy I really like coming out of college. And the more reps he gets in camp, the better he looks. That's obviously a good sign because it means he'll get better for the Raiders in his own career. But you better believe that'll have effect on Josh Jacobs, because he'll see White coming in, his competitive juices will get going. He's like, hey, listen, I had to get back on the field because otherwise my spot will be lost. But in the long term here, I just want to focus on this because I think this is the key point. The Patriots, of course, Ziegler's from that. McDaniels was from that too. They were known for being brutal, business-like. It was tough. A lot of players complained, and they won a lot of Super Bowls because of it. You follow that model, keep and maintain a business mindset when you run your roster, when you run your football team. It's tough. Players will complain. You'll have a lot of nasty tweets about you in social media. It'll happen, and you'll win a lot of football games. I think the Raiders right now are following on that path, and I think eventually they'll have a lot of success because of it.